Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review. Now, on a film I wanted to review for some time, another one. Now, I'll say it's pretty much a film I don't feel like too many people have talked about the film enough. So basically, it's a film that's just pretty much forgotten about. Well, I think is I don't hear too many people talk about this film. But it's a film that came out in 1995, the summer of 1995, and it's based on a children's book, and that is of The Indian in the Cupboard. Now, it's a film like I said before. It came out back in the day, in the summer of 1995, and not too many people talk about this film. Not that I've heard. I'm sure people have heard of it though, but don't talk about it much. So I would say film was pretty much a family film was pretty much forgotten about. But yeah, Indian in the Cupboard. It's based on a children's book, and it's directed by Frank Oz. Now, Frank Oz, he's directed some good films. Especially, especially working with Jim Henson's company, and it's a film he's directed the classic Little Shop of Horrors. I enjoy it's one of my favorite musicals. Little Shop of Horrors. He directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. He directed What About Bob, Bowfinger, Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. It's funny. Um, he directed the Death at a Funeral, the 2007 film, which then got the 2010 remake, but the British one from 2007. And they directed that was a crime film with Robert De Niro, score, and directed one of the Muppet films. I forget though, but he's also known also as an actor. He also doing playing Yoda from Star Wars. But he directed this film. It came out in the summer of 1995, and the film it got good critical notice. Has like a 70% Rotten Tomatoes, has a 5.9 IMDb. I think for a film like a critical notice, got a little bit low on IMDb though, but overall, so it got good critical notices though, but the film didn't do that well, sadly. It debuted number 6. It came out right in the middle of the summer of 1995, and it didn't do that well because it had very strong competition, or stiff competition, because that was the summer when you had Batman Forever, Apollo 13, and you have Disney's Pocahontas coming out right in that time. So that's why the film didn't do that well, because those three films were big hits during that part of the summer. So that's why the film had about a budget of 45 million. Now, for a film that cost like about $45 million, I couldn't quite see that though. How the film looks like it costs 45 million. But whatever. If it costs that much, it costs that much. But it made about 35 million worldwide, so it didn't do that well because, like I said, of those films during that summer. So yeah, so the film failed. And also, especially, had the duo of the producers of Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall in there as well. Because how their films they starred they've helped produce have been hits, so they figured they'd get their hands on this, but didn't do that well, especially with director Frank Oz. But overall, yeah, I do like the film. I think the film has some bit of heart to it. I would say the film is not too badly paced. It's only short. It's a short film. It's only about 96 minutes. Without credits, about 90 minutes. And I did like, and the score I did like. That's I think was one of the highlights of the film for me. Is I did like the score by Randy Engelman. By Randy Engelman. I did one of the best parts I did like was the score in this film. And Randy Engelman, he helped do the scores for let's see here, for Ghostbusters 2, Kindergarten Cop, Beethoven Second, Last of the Mohegans, Dragon, the Bruce Lee Story, The Mask, and Anaconda, Osmosis Jones, Son of the Mask, it sucked. But Yeah, but like Kindergarten Cop and The Mask and Last Mohican, some pretty good scores. But that's one of the best highlights of the film was the score. I like the score. Stars they're in the film. You have this boy named Omri, and for his birthday, his brother gives him a present, and that's like this old cupboard. And his mom gives him a key, which was like from her grandmother, and he puts like his friend Patrick gives him a little a figurine of an Indian, and he sticks him in there. When he puts him in there and he locks it, and then he hears a noise. Then he opens it, the Indian is alive. It comes alive. Um, and he's like he couldn't believe what he was seeing, and like when he tries again, it's a figurine, but then it comes no, it's alive. So it's like it's a magic cover that can bring little figurines to life, and the guy, our guy here, his name is Little Bear, and tells him that what year he's from. I guess like if you're a figure, I guess like if you're in a figurine, I guess you're moving on like in your time, I guess, wherever you're from, I guess. He explains how he was with his nephew and in his time from the year, what was it? He said it was 1761, I think. So I guess he guess if you're in figurine, you're back in your own time, I guess. Back where you were. So he tells him that, oh, you're big. No, you're just small. And little things like tells about since he's in the modern world, little things he has to talk about. But little things adjusting to the world where Omri's at. And like for instance, he's like for his place to sleep, he gets like a plastic teepee, and like he gets an idea, he puts it in the cupboard and takes it out, and it makes like an actual teepee, like it's not made out of plastic anymore. It's like it's an actual teepee with like the canvas and all that stuff. Or for instance, where he takes him outside, he wants to see outside, and while he was getting some stuff, Little Bear is attacked by a bird. Gets a little injury on his leg, so Omri gets an idea that he grabs one of his brother's army figurines, which is a medic, an army medic, and a British army medic because he's British. It's actually played by, and he brings him to life, and it's played by Steve Coogan. Actually, Steve Coogan, he's been some films, like he been like from the Night of the Museum film series, he was Octavius, and he was partnered up with Owen Wilson, the cowboy. Or he's been a little other stuff like Tropic Thunder, or he was in he had a little cameo in Hot Fuzz. And he's been in other he's been Hamlet. Was it Hamlet 2 or was it? But he's been in other films. So Steve Coogan, yeah, I was like, I recognize him. That's Steve Coogan from stuff I mentioned. So he plays the British Army medic. He patches the guy up, and he's like, oh, an Indian. He's an Indian. Well, they said Indian, which how they say Indian. But he patches him up and thanks him for it, and he puts him back into his where he came from. Make him a figurine again, and just all this little stuff like when he goes to school, he builds himself a little house, and then when his dad, played by Richard Jenkins, he's been in other films as well, a lot of films. Richard Jenkins tells him that he needs he goes and gets him some more tools that he took, I guess, and then but he gets by this bully who takes his money, and then it was that way while he was out there, his friend Patrick gives him like a miniature a cowboy, a figurine of a cowboy, and he sees his friend, Little Bear sees his friend because he was attacked by what was it was the thing was his brother. It was his brothers, right? Because they have a pet rat in this little hamster wheel. Because he sees that his brothers are messing with the little miniature house that little bear made, and his friend Patrick sees him, and then while Omar steps up for a second, he tells him, "Don't do anything with it or anything." But of course, Patrick doesn't listen, and he puts the cowboy in there, and he comes alive on his horse. And the cowboy's played by David Keith. He's been in a couple films as well. He was like in this is in the back of here from that film U-571, a submarine movie. But he was also he also appeared in Daredevil. He was playing Matt Murdock, his father. He played his father in Daredevil. But he's been in some other stuff too, though. He plays the cowboy named Boone, and like the typical like the cowboy voice and all that stuff. And he sees there's an Indians, cowboys and Indians. He starts shooting. Wants to shoot the Indian. And another thing I forgot to mention. Before the cowboy brought to life, he Little Bear, he needed like a bow and arrow, right? So can hunt and all that stuff. He puts Omar puts a figurine of an older Indian chief, but then when he brings him to life, though, the old Indian chief dies, and it was a little bit of a sad moment where you bring this little figurine where of this old Indian, and then to life. But then all of a sudden he just passes away right there. And I was like, man, that sucks. And Omar, he feels like, he feels bad. And also, Little Bear, he was also upset as well. Like, because he said, all he does is magic, you are a child. And he wants to bury him. And when he another thing, he takes a Little Bear outside, where he brings a little like a deer to life for him to hunt, and which I was like, okay, you bring a deer to life for the Indian to hunt and kill for to eat. But at the same time, he takes the figurine of the dead Indian chief that's been wrapped up in a small blanket, and he buries it. So, because he feels that these figurines now, they're actually people, not just figurines, as he was telling his friend Patrick later. Because after, I'll get to that in a second though. But so yeah, that was a little bit of a sympathy moment for a little respect for burying the dead Indian chief. Even though now he's a figurine though, but still it's like a little sympathetic, respectable thing that he's do as a respect for Little Bear. But it's after the whole thing with Boone, and tells him where he's from. He's from Texas, from 1879. And at first, because they don't, at first the cowboy and the Indian don't get along because it's cowboys and Indians, the savage and all that. But then he wants to bring them to school, because first he leaves the cowboy there, and then tells his Patrick wants him to bring him to school for him. And even though the way they tell him, like, they're walking awkwardly, because even though they're in a fanny pack, but they're delicate, I suppose. I mean, so if you run, they're gonna shake up and down, I guess, but that's sort of walking very slowly. And while they're in class, and inside the fanny pack, then the Indian and cowboy are getting along, talking to each other, but Patrick wants to show. When he wants to show, because when Omar's talking with his teacher, he sees that Patrick is talking with these two other kids that he wants to show them, but he's saying no. and a little fight, and teacher wants to sort it out, but he's saying, Omar says, no, they're people, all right? They're people. Can't do that. And he's like, I guess like he tells him like plastic, I guess, pretend to be plastic, I guess. So when he pulls them out, they're being like, they look like plastic figurines. So, and then it's the point where during the one night when the family leaves, I guess when the family leaves for one night, where Patrick sleeps at his place, they're watching TV, and to one point where they change a channel, and it's a film of cowboys and Indians shooting at each other. And Little Bear, he sees the imagery, and then he kills his bow and arrow, but then he actually hits Boone, and he drops down, and they need to save him, but the cupboard is missing because his brother Gillian took it away from him, and saying, where is a rat ball, because he took it for the rat, and he gives it back, but he's asking where the key is now, and that he does not know where it's at. So they can't treat, because he wants to bring Tommy back, the Steve Coogan, the army medic. That's his name, Tommy Atkins. It sounded like Tom Atkins, the actor Tom Atkins. But he wants to bring him back, but he can't because he can't find the key. So Little Bear tries to treat him the best he could. And then Omar's mother tells him that the rat, the Gillian's pet rat, is loose and it's underneath the floors. And they find the key, but it fell between the gaps, so Little Bear gets down there, and he's being chased by the rat underneath the floors, but he manages to get the key. They pull him out with the key and avoid by the rat. And so they quickly put Tommy in there to bring back to life to treat for Boone. And he's doing fine, but then Omar realized that they need to be they need to go back to where they came from. Because he gets his long look when he's staring at Flesh himself in the bathroom mirror. He gets his long stare that says he needs to go back to his own time. So he puts Steve Coogan back in, thanks him for it, puts him back in, and then just before because they talk about this before, where that Little Bear, he wants a wife. So, but Omar, he brought a little figurine of an Indian woman, an Indian lady, but Omar, Little Bear, just when he was about to put her in the cupboard, Little Bear stops him and says no, because what if she was already married, have kids and all that stuff? So can't do that, because we don't know how she is back in her time. So he doesn't do it. So the next morning, they're about to say their goodbyes. Like, for instance, for one part where Omar envisions himself that they're in the woods, and Little Bear is actually his actual size, and his actual size standing next to Omar. So that was a little bit of sad thing. I thought it was a little bit of a to a sad point where I'm crying. No, but I could feel like, because as a say goodbye, we're having to be brought back as figurines. So Boone and the Little Bear, they get back in their original poses how they were before, and you get that slow-mo shot of him closing the cabinet and locking it, and they're back as figurines. And then it ends with Omar at school reading about in his journal how he says he will never know where or how Little Bear may be, but he doesn't have to worry about him anymore because he knows that he'll be all right. And that's how it is. So yeah, it's not a long review, about maybe 20 minutes in, maybe, but it's not that long of a movie, and it's just short and sweet, I would say. I thought the kid, what's his name? Hal Scardino. I thought he was still. I thought he was just fine. I thought I was not that bad at all. Um, Little bear named Litefoot. I thought that's his actual name. Because it is like an Indian, Native American. I thought he did a good job. Other films he hasn't been in much films. While he was in looking up, he was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation as the character Nightwolf. Shitty sequel to Mortal Kombat though, but looking up, okay, he was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, okay, but he was pretty good as Little Bear, so he did a good job with that. David Keith as Boone, which he said his name was Boo Hoo Boone because he cries a lot. He did a good job as well. Richard Jenkins, recognizable actor, he was there for and as the father, and Lindsay Crouse as the mother as well. I also, if I look at the film, I don't see how this film cost like $45 million. I don't see how, but somehow it did. But the film bombed, sadly. But the score I did enjoy. For a short film, I felt about 96 minutes. It was well paced. Yeah, it's just like a magical present leads to an adventure beyond his wildest dreams. I think I remember seeing the trailer from back in the day. It was one of the VHS previews, and it was like making like this epicness of this trailer with the score. So, but yeah. Well, The Indian in the Cupboard, it's a film that's pretty much forgotten about. So I feel like no one talks about these days. But it's a film that has been forgotten about. But I do like the film. Frank Oz did a good job with the film. For features, has a director's commentary, photo gallery, bonus trailers. But yeah. This is too bad because like I said, A Crowded Summer in 1995 because of Batman Forever, Apollo 13, and Pocahontas. Those are big hits. So, but yeah, and due to the film's poor performance at the box office, they were gonna make sequels based on other books, like sequels to the book. They were gonna make sequels from the other books though, but due to the film's poor performance, that didn't happen. It's just you hate when films are like back in last year in 2017, King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. That film was a huge bomb, and they were planning to make a franchise out of that. I was like, yeah, I could see that film about King Arthur and the Sword, Excalibur, and a planned franchise for that, and a film with a big budget, and especially that film bombed hard. That's canceled. Or like with Atlantis, The Lost Empire, they were planning to make an attraction for that, a water attraction based on that though, but due to the film's poor performance, that didn't happen either. And I explained that when I reviewed it. So, but yeah, when they tend to making franchises based the film's poor performance, they scrap them. So, but yeah, The Indian in the Cupboard, I thought it was a pretty decent family movie. It's like I said, it's under the radar from a lot of people nowadays. Good score, and the character, especially of our character Litefoot, Little Bear, and Boone as well. But overall, it's a decent family movie. Just needs to be recognized more nowadays again. Probably because the film was a flop, and then that was it. People forget about it back then. Who knows? But yeah, that's my review of The Indian in the Cupboard. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned on the next movie review. Later.